Guten Tag from Berlin, Germany. What an incredible city. We've been here for a few days now. We want you to spend 24 hours with us as we tour the city, seeing all the famous sights. Wow, what an incredible city. Shall we go then? This right here is David Bowie's old apartments in Berlin. It's located right here in Schöneberg, one of the lively neighborhoods in Germany's capital city. It was here that he recorded his famous Berlin trilogy, Low, Heroes and Lodger. And not forgetting the time Iggy Pop came to stay as well. He recorded The Idiot. And in fact, the covers of both Heroes and The Idiot are based on famous paintings that both the men saw in Berlin's many museums. Here we are at Checkpoint Charlie. So this area here was a no man's land, so between the walls separating the east and the west. Now, as the sign says, if we were stood on this very point all those years ago, we would have been shot at. Around here there's a lot of tensions, a lot of weapons, a lot of people lost their lives as well, and a lot of people had places like houses all over here too. Must have been a terrifying place to live. But what we're going to do now is we're going to pass through the famous Checkpoint Charlie to go over to the American sector, and then we'll take you around some of the other stops. So we're just making our way from Checkpoint Charlie down towards Potsdamer Platz, and here they have a museum, and you can see a section of the wall and the trenches that lay beneath it as well. Very moving. So this very unassuming estate and car park was the location of the Führerbunker. So this was where Hitler hid out right at the end of the Second World War, underneath these stones, where Hitler and his wife took their own lives, bringing an end to the suffering of millions of people and ultimately the end of the Second World War. Yeah, it's pretty crazy to be here, just because it looks like a normal place. If it hadn't have been for the hordes of people stood over there, we wouldn't have known where this was. And it's worthy of reflection. It's good that there's no monument here. It's a part of history that we have to remember, but also people want to forget it as well. Rightly so. And on that note, let's go and visit the beautiful Jewish memorial, which is just down the road. This is the very beautiful and moving Jewish memorial, which is just down the road from the place where the Second World War was effectively ended. It's a very touching place and very moving. The beautiful Tiergarten. So this morning we are in Tempelhof Feld. So Berlin Tempelhof Airport used to be one of the preeminent airports in Europe. However, the airport's popularity began to decline, and in 2008 the airport ceased trading. As you can see, it's almost perfectly preserved. Behind me, as you can see, this is where the planes used to taxi, and then just here we've got the old airport building just there, Berlin Tempelhof, and then over there is the runway. This is one of the old Tempelhof Airways planes. It used to carry only about 29 passengers, and it was decommissioned in the 80s and since been used for like rescue missions and stuff. So as you can tell, we're now on the old runway. This is pretty amazing. Never been on a runway before. Throughout the 50s, 60s, 70s, post World War II, everybody coming to Berlin would have come here. They would have landed down here, and then the plane would have travelled along and stopped somewhere down there. But it's mad to think that in 2008 this was still being used. It's almost perfectly preserved as well. It's pretty amazing. Okay, it's just started raining and we need to get going to Friedrichstein via the East Side Gallery. So we're going to head on some scooters and make our way down there. So join us. We're currently in East Berlin, and just over the wall here, over there would have been West Berlin. So the east side here would have been the Soviet Union, and the west side, just over there, that would have been where the Germans lived. As Europeans, we would have been allowed the occasional journey over there because of the European passport. The east side, just over here, and this is the west side. So the east side were forbidden to come over at all for several years. They did relent on that, so at some point they had it so that pensioners could come over, or people could come over at Christmas, or sometimes people could come over if they had to for work purposes and things like that. But largely there wasn't really any access until the fall of the wall in 1989. Now it's pretty cool over here now. They've got a hotel here with a floating lounge, and here's a hostel. Although many years have passed since then, it's really hard to not feel a sense of privilege at the fact that we can just cross freely between both sides. So this is the East Side Gallery, and they've found a way to turn something that has pretty terrible history into something more positive. And there's so many cool artworks around here. Some beautiful, some very idiosyncratic. And of course, there is the #1 famous one, which you might recognize here.
And still, it's too early to talk about artists that are developing photorealism techniques.
When we arrived to this section of the wall, we saw a big queue around that one, and it's the only surviving original painting from the wall itself. Here on the banks of the River Spree lies the Holzmarkt. So the Holzmarkt is a really cool and quirky place. Started in about 2012. You have people living here, and it's a collection of little pop-up food stands. They have a techno club here, restaurant, everything. It's really cool, and everything is sustainable. There's lots of little quirky things dotted around. Let's take you on a bit of a nature walk. Come on. We've popped off the bikes next to Ostbahnhof railway station to go and see this, Berlin's famous techno club, Berghain. This place is probably one of the hotspots of decadence anywhere in the world, and it's pretty foreboding. Lots of celebrities have come here, lots of celebrities have been turned away from here, messed up things have happened here. Pretty amazing to see it when it's closed. So next opens on Friday late at night, but yeah, pretty foreboding. Throughout the 50s, 60s, 70s, everybody coming to Berlin would have come here. They would have landed down here, and then the plane would have travelled along and stopped somewhere down there. It's almost perfectly preserved.